From Texas Ranger to the face of the Delta Force and even the subject of legendary memes, Chuck Norris became one of the toughest actors of his generation.
Chuck Norris died. I didn't know that. He was a great guy. He was a really good, tough cookie. You didn't want to fight him, I can tell you. He was a tough, great guy, and he was a great supporter. Wow, that's too bad. Tell his family highest respect. Right? Great man.
Born on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma, as the oldest of three boys, Norris once described himself as the shy kid who never excelled at anything in school. His father was an alcoholic who essentially disappeared from his life after his parents divorced.
You know, my dad was an alcoholic, my real father. Yeah. And in those days, you know, they were drunkards. You know, you looked at them as drunkards. But now, of course, now you realize that it's a disease, like any other type of drug, and that it was something that they could not get over. And I reflect back, and I realized that my dad was suffering from an addiction. You know, that my dad was a sick man, and that it was not something that he wanted to do, something that was that he was afflicted with. And so I really, the hostility that I carried, really, I eliminated from myself at that time.
His martial arts journey began in 1958 when he joined the U.S. Air Force. While stationed in South Korea, he discovered Tang Soo Do and developed a lifelong passion for the discipline. After leaving the military in 1962, he became a karate instructor, eventually opening over 30 studios and training celebrities such as Chad McQueen, Donnie, Anne-Marie Osmond, Priscilla Presley, and Bob Barker. A true master of his craft, he earned black belts in karate, taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and judo. He won the World Middleweight Karate Championship in 1968 and defended the title 5 times before retiring in 1974. It was during this period that he met Steve McQueen. The two became close friends, and McQueen encouraged Norris to pursue acting.
Well, Steve's the one that got me into films. Yeah, he was one of my students, and then when I retired as the world karate champion, Steve suggested that I pursue an acting career. And so I jumped into films with absolutely no experience as an actor, and so I had to kind of feel my way along from film to film.
By the late 70s and 80s, Norris had become a premier action star with hits like Missing in Action, Code of Silence, and The Delta Force. However, it was his 1972 appearance in The Way of the Dragon, featuring a legendary showdown against Bruce Lee in the Roman Colosseum, that truly changed his life. Fun fact: did you know that during the late Soviet era, Western movies were heavily restricted, and karate was officially banned because it was seen as a dangerous foreign influence linked to underground groups and crime? Practicing it could even get you arrested. Films starring Chuck Norris were smuggled into the USSR on illegal VHS tapes and distributed through underground networks known as video salons. Because formal access to Western martial arts training was limited, many young Russians began copying fight moves directly from these films. They would replay scenes, study the techniques, and practice them, essentially using Chuck Norris movies as unofficial martial arts tutorials. In a strange twist, Chuck Norris became their mentor.
You mentioned that you've trained a lot of black belts who were in Russia. You're actually quite a big star in Russia. Why is that?
Well, you know, amazingly, about 3 years ago, I got invited over there to go to a kickboxing event in Moscow. And I thought, well, you know, I've never been there, so I'd like to go over there. And because, you know, I have black belts that have come over and trained with me from Russia, but I've never been there. So I go over there, and unbeknownst to me, about 10 years ago, martial arts was outlawed in Russia. And if you used it, they put you in jail. And so they trained underground, but they had no teachers. And they were using my pirated movies, tapes, to train. Yeah, use the training aids. And so I went over there. I was like their mentor. You know, I was very surprised.
By the 90s, his movie career had slowed down, so he adapted. He moved to television and became Cordell Walker in Walker, Texas Ranger. The show ran for 8 years and kept him relevant to a whole new generation. Chuck Norris's last major movie role was in The Expendables 2, released in 2012. After that, he kept a low profile, though he remained a household name through viral internet memes. On March 10th, Chuck celebrated his 86th birthday, marking the occasion with a video on an Instagram post of him outdoors, throwing an impressive body shot at his sparring partner to emphasize his active lifestyle.
I don't age, I level up.
This would become his last public appearance. The video was captioned, "I'm 86 today, nothing like some playful action on a sunny day to make you feel young. I'm grateful for another year, good health, and the chance to keep doing what I love. Thank you all for being the best fans in the world. Your support through the years has meant more to me than you'll ever know." The last part seemed almost like a premonition, because just 9 days later, on March 19th, things took a tragic turn when Norris was hospitalized on the island of Kauai, Hawaii, after experiencing a medical emergency. He unfortunately didn't make it. It is with heavy hearts that our family shares the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning, his family said in a lengthy Instagram post requesting privacy as they grieve their loss. According to what I've been able to gather from TMZ, on Wednesday the 19th, before Chuck was hospitalized, he was training on the island. A friend of his was on the phone with him, and he was in good spirits, even cracking jokes. So his death happened suddenly.
What do we know about the circumstances of his death in Hawaii?
Right, so it appears that there was some sort of a medical incident, but then he was released from the hospital. He actually spoke to a friend, according to TMZ, and all seemed fine, like you said, also posting a video on his birthday, which you can see there at 86 years young. So this all appears to have happened very quickly.
Norris is set to appear in what is expected to be his final on-screen role in Zombie Plane, an Australian action comedy that will mark one last chapter in his career. It is expected to be released in late 2026, offering fans a final chance to see him on screen. As Chuck would say, he didn't die, he's just taking a well-deserved nap for the first time in his life.